What's up, guys? Welcome back to the boxing circuit. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time it is now you're taking in this video. I hadn't actually planned to do a video on this particular topic because it's not a fight that I'm that interested in, although I do have some thoughts on the fight. Someone once told me if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all. But in this case, I'm going to make an exception. So I really wanted to sort of jump on and give you some of my views on the Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou fight and give you the three reasons as to why I'm not in favor of this particular fight. So before we jump in, if you do find that you like the content, enjoy our videos, if you could hit the subscribe button, would really appreciate your support in growing the channel. So in no particular order, because I think they're all really, really valid in equal measure. So the first one is, it's just not a competitive fight, just straight off the bat. Tyson Fury is obviously a world champion in boxer. Some might call him an elite boxer. I do think there is a difference between world class and elite. I personally wouldn't have Tyson Fury as an elite boxer when we're comparing him to some of the boxers that have come before him. But I'm not going to get into that because that's, I'm sure, is a different conversation. Although when it comes to him fighting Francis Ngannou, he is elite because Francis Ngannou is a guy who's coming from the UFC. He was obviously very impressive within the UFC. He was a UFC heavyweight champion. Baddest man on the planet and all of that. So, if they're fighting in the octagon, then absolutely this would be interesting as a boxing fan to see how Tyson Fury gets on fighting Ngannou. But in terms of a boxing fan watching this particular event, there's very little interest from me because I think it would just be majorly one-sided. I think that the two disciplines are completely different. And for those of you who aren't necessarily aware of Francis Ngannou, don't listen to everything that you hear from the promoters. I'd suggest you go and watch his last fight in the UFC, which was against a guy called Cyril Gane. Francis Ngannou won that fight unanimously, but just about. So in UFC, you've got 5 rounds. The scoring at the end of it determined that Francis had won that fight by 3 rounds to 2. So those 3 rounds were the final 3 rounds of the fight, and the 5th round in particular, Francis effectively sort of got Cyril Gane to the ground, laid on him for about 4 minutes, and won that particular round and ended up winning the fight. So yes, he can hit hard. I'm sure of that. We've obviously seen him knock people out in the UFC, but in terms of knocking Tyson Fury out or having the ability to get himself into a position at least where he can land a punch, it's going to be very difficult. So as much as they're rolling out sort of the media and the promotional side, I've obviously got Mike Tyson in the corner with Francis Ngannou. It's not going to change anything. You're not suddenly going to learn how to box and become a world-class elite level boxer within 6 to 8 weeks. It's just not going to happen. So I suspect that it will be very similar to when Floyd Mayweather fought Conor McGregor back in 2017. Floyd will carry him for, in that case, Floyd carried him for 10 rounds and finished him in the 10th. And I suspect this will be something very similar. So I don't think it will be as big as that because obviously that was a huge fight. Conor McGregor was a bigger star than Francis Ngannou, and Floyd Mayweather was a bigger star than Tyson Fury. So that made for a huge fight. And one could argue Conor McGregor, that was prime Conor McGregor, who at least in the octagon showed good striking ability as well with his fists. But nonetheless, in that case, he was fighting an elite level boxer, and that showed on the night. So I suspect this fight will go very similar. So number one, like I say, no particular order, but one of the three is it's not a competitive fight. So there's that one. Second one is I just don't like how this is just holding up the heavyweight division. So there's a lot of criticism around the heavyweight division at the moment in terms of not being able to get the big fights on. There was this whole year with the talks between Usyk and Fury seemingly, just got dragged out to the point where the fight didn't end up getting made. There was alleged offers from Fury's team to fight AJ, and that fight didn't get made. But, whenever it was being talked about, there was always that sense of skepticism because seemingly whenever Tyson Fury is involved in a fight, unless you are a B minus C level fighter, seemingly it's very difficult to make a fight with Tyson Fury. Now, in the instance where you're Derek Chisora, you're not in a position to command, a large percent of the purse. So when he fought Derek Chisora, he gets a very minimal slice of the revenue. Dylan White was slightly different because he was a mandatory. So there are rules around a percentage split for those fights. But outside of that, you've then got the ones Tom Schwartz, Otto Wallen, Sefer Seferi, and alike, people who just can't command big purses when you're fighting Tyson Fury. So anybody who is fighting Tyson Fury who has credibility, seemingly it's very difficult to make a fight with Tyson Fury. I don't know why that is, but he is the common denominator. So whilst he's not fighting or choosing to fight a boxer in this fight, he's just holding up the division. I had a look back, and Deontay Wilder, when he was WBC champion, so he won the belt against a boxer called Bermane Stiverne in 2015. And during 2015, to the point when he dropped the belt to Tyson Fury in 2020, Deontay Wilder had been involved in 12 world title fights. So he was an active WBC champion, Deontay Wilder was. And within those defenses were the likes of Tyson Fury when it was a draw. His unsuccessful defense to Tyson Fury in the second fight, but he fought Luis Ortiz twice before that. He fought Gerald Washington. Obviously, he recently fought Derek Chisora. He fought Dominic Breazeale, Eric Molina. So he fought, 12, was involved in 12 world title fights from 2015 to 2020. Anthony Joshua, when he picked up the belt from Charles Martin, he went on a run of 12 world title fights as well. So he defended his belt 7 times successfully within that period, but ultimately was involved in 12 world title fights. Tyson Fury, on the other hand, since he won the belt from Deontay Wilder back in 2020, considering he's not fighting a boxer in his next fight, it will be 4 years since Tyson Fury won the WBC belt by the time he gets in the ring with another boxer. And within those 4 years, he would have defended the belt 3 times. And those defenses are Derek Chisora, working backwards, Derek Chisora, Dillian White, and Deontay Wilder. And it is worth also pointing out that Tyson Fury, or Deontay Wilder, had to effectively take Tyson Fury to court to get him to fight the 3rd time. The history says trying to get Tyson Fury to sign up to a big fight, it proves very difficult. And I think at the moment we're having to listen to the narrative from Frank Warren, which is, well, who else is he going to fight? Nobody knows Filip Hrgović. Nobody knows Frank Sanchez. Nobody knows Martin Bakole, and so on and so forth. But, my counter to that is, well, nobody knew Eric Molina when Joshua fought him. Nobody knew Dominic Breazeale when Joshua fought him. Nobody knew Carlos Takam when he stepped in at short notice to fight Anthony Joshua. But it didn't stop Joshua from taking on those challenges. He was defending his belt because he was trying to unify the division, and that was his purpose in doing so. Ultimately, he's fallen short, but he set his stall out very early, and he honoured effectively the tradition of boxing, which is you win your belt and you defend it. Tyson Fury has made 3 defences, and he's only been involved in 6 world title fights. So, whilst he's now again choosing to fight somebody, whereas when he fought Derek Chisora in December, not necessarily a credible opponent, not giving a top 10 heavyweight the opportunity to fight for this belt and for them to be able to change their life, Tyson Fury continues to hold up the WBC belt. Now, I think most fans would be accepting of Fury, or most boxing fans would be accepting of Fury taking on Ngannou if he just dropped the belt and let others fight for it and let them progress their career, let them have an opportunity to change their life. But instead, once again, he's refusing to do that. He did it when he said he was retired, which we all knew was bullshit. No matter what he says on that Netflix series, that was bullshit. No one ever believed that. And he wouldn't give up the belt then either. So, he's proven that Tyson Fury, to quote, the great Triple H, Tyson Fury wants there to be a catalyst for change, but only if he's the main beneficiary of it. And that's what you see with his actions at the moment. So I don't like the way he's holding up the division. I don't think it's fair to other fighters who have earned the right to take on him. He doesn't own the WBC belt. He's the current holder of it, and the WBC should be better at enforcing mandatories on him. And then the last one is just, I just think it's damaging for boxing. I think whenever a superstar like Tyson Fury is a superstar, I think he should be using that star power to benefit the sport of boxing. Now, anybody who says this is beneficial for boxing is talking bullshit, because the only people saying that are the ones who are set to gain off this financially. If you cast your mind back to when Billy Joe Saunders and Devin Haney fought on the undercard of KSI and Logan Paul, that did absolutely nothing for their careers, nothing. None of those fans transcended from Logan Paul and KSI to suddenly following Devin Haney, and they certainly didn't transcend to following Billy Joe Saunders. It's just rubbish. They're two different things. You have a network at the moment, DAZN, who came into the boxing market a number of years ago and promised to disrupt the boxing market. Pay-per-view's dead. We're going to bring the fights to you. We're streaming. We're ahead of the game at X, Y, and Z. And now they've resorted to Misfits Boxing, and putting that on pay-per-view on their platform. You've got KSI about to take on Tommy Fury, pay-per-view on DAZN. You had Jake Paul fighting on DAZN against what's his face, Nate Diaz, and once big broadcasters see the types of views that these circus acts get, this is what they are. This is what they are. They're not boxing. They're people that are leveraging their fan base to profit off it. And once these big broadcasters see that, they start to veer down that way of. They start to veer down that route, and those are the fights that they start to want to show. So they start to invest less in actual grassroots boxing and promoting and building a fighter. And it's not just promoting the fighter on the night, it's building the narrative around the fighter, investing in that fighter. Instead, a company like DAZN at the moment, they're going for the cash grabs to try to basically, piggyback off KSI and Logan Paul and Jake Paul and so on. And you can see the damage that it does. You have John Fury there flipping tables at the KSI and Tommy Fury press conference, just disgraceful behavior. Now, some might say, Derek Chisora did that, and I get that. But John Fury's not even fighting, it's just choreographed, So I just think that, it damages the sport of boxing. It doesn't really do anything for the grassroots boxers, and I think on this particular card here, you've got one of the leading promoters in the UK, which is Queensberry, spending a lot of time promoting and talking about this fight. In fact, they're spending a lot of time defending this fight because a lot of fans know it's not the fight that should be happening. And furthermore, on this one, you've got a fight between David Adeleye and Fabio Wardley. Now, Fabio Wardley is the British champion, right? David Adeleye was going to be mandated, become the mandatory to challenge Fabio Wardley for this title. These two are now fighting in Saudi Arabia. Now, the British Boxing Board of Control have confirmed that the British title won't be up for grabs in this fight. So when I talk about the changing landscape of boxing and how this isn't good for boxing, this is a prime example. These guys and the promotional company have decided to choose the money rather than the actual title. Now there's certain titles in boxing, WBC, WBA, WBO, IBF, IBO, they start to get confusing after a while, but there's only one British title, so there is prestige around that title. So these guys really should be fighting for the British title in Britain, but instead they're fighting in Saudi Arabia, and it won't end up being for the title. It's just going to be for money. Now, Frank will say, oh, you'll get loads of eyeballs on you and everything else like that. You won't. And the only reason they're getting eyeballs on them is because of the fight that they had on the red carpet that time. So other than that, nobody would have known they were actually fighting. So that's just an example of how this is dangerous for the sport of boxing, because you've got prestigious titles like the British title just being pushed to the side like it's completely irrelevant. And instead the fighters deciding to take the money. Now, this isn't going to go on forever. So then these boxers are going to have to come back and start fighting in the UK for purses, which are going to be a fraction of what they had possibly achieved in Saudi Arabia before. And this is what stalls fights, because now they're going to say, I earned X amount in my last fight, I must earn this in my next fight. Well, you won't earn it in the next fight because you haven't built your profile over here. The reason you get paid what you get paid in Saudi Arabia is because it's all done off a site fee. Whereas over here, it's about the broadcaster in terms of eyeballs. Now, if you're not bringing in those eyeballs because you haven't built your profile, then then you're just not going to progress financially, and you're not going to be known to the British fans or the world boxing fans. So, because the majority of people that tune into this card, they're not going to be watching it for boxing. They're just going to be watching it to see what happens when Tyson Fury, a boxing champ and a UFC champ, get in the same ring. Well, we've seen this dance before, and we all know what's going to happen. And the exact same thing that happened last time will happen this time. So, I'm not going to do any further videos on this event because, as you can probably tell from this video, I'm really not in favour of the event. I listened to a short video with Ricky Hatton the other day, and he's saying he's pissed off now because boxing seems to be turning into a bit of a circus. And right at the top of that, you've got Tyson Fury leading the way. So, like I say, the one and only video that I'm going to do on this fight, because I'm more focused on actual boxing and trying to elevate the boxers' statuses who are actually involved in the sport. So, let me know what you think, if you agree or disagree. And ultimately, everyone's free to make their mind up and tune into the event if they want to. I, for one, will not. But I'm looking forward to some of the actual boxing fights that are coming up. We've got a good one next weekend with Joe Joyce, rematching Zhilei Zhang. So, let's get behind that one. I'm going to do another video previewing that event. I'll give you my thoughts on that, see what Joe can do to turn it around. And then we'll roll on from there. So, thanks for listening. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you like this video, do hit subscribe, and I'll catch you later.